Hello everyone, welcome into another episode of the Eidolon Wall. Thank you all for gathering here at the Eidolon Wall for this, for episode 2. I won't lie, still kind of nervous about this, but hopefully you guys will have a fun time hearing me and my guest party members, who I shall introduce shortly, as we talk about Final Fantasy 9 and the characters. Now, Final Fantasy, as we know, has a whole range of characters, and ever since Final Fantasy 2, we've been introduced to characters that have more defined personalities. With Final Fantasy 4 being where we actually have characters where we can notice those personalities, such as Cecil's noble heart, Rosa's compassion, Kane's stoicness. You get the idea. And I figured, why not talk about my favorite game in the series by talking about the characters that we fell in love with as we played the game. The characters that we connect to, that made us feel emotions like happiness, joy, like we wanted to hug them, we wanted to cry for them, we wanted to join in their anger when they're hurt. So in this episode, like I said, we're gonna go in depth about the cast of Final Fantasy 9. We're gonna go into depth about the dilemmas that each character has, because in Final Fantasy 9, each character does have a sort of dilemma of sorts that they go through in the game, and the game acknowledges, and they work themselves through this dilemma as the game goes on. So we're going to talk about those dilemmas. And I will also be providing quotes about from these characters to help give you guys an idea, to help us define who these characters are as a person. And like I said, I am joined by my guest party members, Tisho and Vian. So here they are, everyone. Tisho and Vian, everyone. Hopefully they can hear you. Please let me know if you can hear them, guys. If everything's fine. If there's oh, they can. Okay. Hold on. I might need to mess with the audio then. Right. Okay. What about now? Hopefully. Oh, come on. Okay. Apologies, guys. Un momento por ver. Okay, why is that? No, yeah, sorry about this, guys. I should have already tested this, but... Oh, wait, hold on. Okay, try now.
Hello?
Oh.
Hello? Can you hear me? If you can hear me,
There
say
we
happy
go.
birthday. It's my birthday.
Yes. Yes, okay, there we go. Sorry about the technical difficulties, guys. But yes, it is Vianne's birthday today, so please give her a very well-deserved happy birthday. Okay, it's echoing for me. Is it echoing for you guys, or is it all good? It might just be my setup, though. Oh, good. Okay, good. Thank you. Anyway, as I was saying, today we're going to talk about Final Fantasy 9 characters and go in depth a bit. But first off, why don't we have our party members introduce themselves? So, why don't we go have ladies first? And, Vian, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourself to our audience? Wait, what?
And it's a game
Oh,
very close to my heart,
oh,
and I will argue with you that it is the same game as
oh,
Persona 3. Ask you why.
oh, sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt there, Vian. Could you start that again? Sorry, apparently the Discord messed up and you weren't. They couldn't hear you for the first part. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. No, that's okay. I was just saying, my name is Oblivion, and most people just call me V. and I really like Final Fantasy 9. I'm annoying about it the way a lot of 7 fans are. And Final Fantasy 9 and Persona 3 are the same game, and I can prove it to you. If you doubt me, play both games. They're the same.
I can see that. I can see that. I can see that. But yes, please go and check out Vian. She is absolutely awesome. Very lovely person. Just all around wholesome. Please go check her out. And of course, next up is one of my very best friends. You all know him as my mod, and in our circle, we all know him as the Eldegard Simp. But he is a great guy. Please give it up for T-Shaw 1467. 14, yeah, 67. I said it right.
Yeah, you're good. Hi, hello everyone. Bonjour. I'm T-Shaw. You can call me T-Shaw, just whatever. Or if you're like Bahamut, you can, well, only Bahamut can say that. Simp, Edelgard Simp. I'm diehard fan of Devil May Cry, but I also love Final Fantasy. I recently finished a playthrough of Final Fantasy IX, and quite honestly, it's one of my favorite games. Me personally, it's tied with 8 or Final Fantasy 8. So, but I love 9 just as much personally, but just all around great games.
Good to hear. So yes, please also go and check out T-Shaw. Again, another amazing person. Like I said, one of my best friends, pun master, and honestly, just all around great guy. Please go check him out. But guys, yes, here we are, Final Fantasy 9. So as T-Shaw said, it is a wonderful game. Yeah, sorry about that, Valk. You might just have to I don't know how to stop the Discord notifications, unfortunately, because I'm using the app. But anyway, yeah, so Final Fantasy 9, I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, it's a game we all love, like Vian and T-Shaw said, and and you guys obviously know from watching me in the channel, we all love Final Fantasy 9. It's a game that invokes a lot of emotion, it's a game we can connect to. It's got a rich story, rich characters, a rich world, and it's a game that has definitely been a lot of popular. I know that I first discovered Final Fantasy 9 when I was a kid. My brother had bought it, and he let me play it, and I instantly fell in love with it. I then played it I played it more and more as a kid, and he actually gave me his copy when he gave me his PlayStation. So that's how I discovered Final Fantasy 9, and well, to this day, as you guys can tell, my love has only grown. But what about you, T? How did you first discover Final Fantasy 9, and what drew you to do your first playthrough of it?
I honestly first discovered 9. Honestly, when I was first dipping my my toes into the Final Fantasy series, essentially. I mean, my first one that I ever played was 10. Then I jumped to 8, and then I recently did 9. But I remember just seeing gameplay, tidbits of it, and what drew me to it was just well, you pretty much. You inspired me to want to play
Aww.
it, and when I did my subathon last year, it was one of my milestones and stuff, and I know you were really advocating
I was.
get this man to 9. I mean, whether I made it or not, I was gonna play it regardless, but
Yeah, that's fair.
quite honestly, I'm glad that I did, or that I did play it, because it seriously is a fantastic game.
Because I know that in some parts of the game, obviously I won't say what parts for those who haven't played the game, but I know in some parts, that certain VV scene, it definitely got to you as well. So I know you've definitely felt some emotional connection to it, haven't you?
Oh yeah, that VV scene hit me like a truck, man.
Yeah. Looking in chat as well, we also have Bronx has just come in as well. Unfortunately, Bronx, I have turned off sound clips for the podcast, but welcome in. And yeah, Vian, how did you discover Final Fantasy 9, and what drew you to play it?
So, I'm all things considered, I'm very new to Final Fantasy, and I have a friend, a longtime friend named Sarah, who, her and I met 7 years ago or so now,
Mm.
and she talked a lot about 7, 9, and 10 when it came to Final Fantasy, and she always talked about how 9 is her favorite, and online she used to go by Garnet because she really liked Garnet as a
I like that.
character, and she felt that like Garnet was the most seen she's ever been in any type of fictional
Mm.
character ever. Um, and hearing that from her, like her and I have a lot of the same taste and like in media and stuff like that. So when I started streaming to Twitch, there was actually a Square Enix sale, and I got the original OG7
Ooh.
and I got Final Fantasy 9 for like half off or something. And I streamed 7 OG7,
Mhm.
real ones. Remember that was straight from PS4 streams before I had a computer. Those are scuffed. But and then in my off time, because I got 9 on my Switch, so I was playing 9 off stream in like just in my bed because that's
Mm.
where I like to play my Switch. And I was playing them both at the same time, but I finished 7 way before I finished 9 just because I was streaming it and I liked
Mm.
streaming. And I played both of those games after I played 10 for the first time as well. Because I played 10 like before I started streaming.
Mhm.
And like I just felt so in love with the world and the characters, and I just every time I like everyone says JRPGs take slow, like
Mm.
it takes a while to get into
Yeah.
them. Nah, not for me with 9. Like as soon as like you can start walking, I was like, I like this place, and I just got pleasantly surprised by the journey it took me on, and that's why I think it's the best one.
No, that's fair. Yeah, I was the same when I first played it. I loved it. Like when you first see Zidane at the start of the game, I instantly, when I first played as a kid, I instantly went, I like this guy. He's got a tail. He looks cool. I like this dude. But yeah, like I was the same as you. Like, JRPGs, people say they're a slow burn, they take time. But no, FF9, I was like, yeah, I like it already. It was great. It was fun. But yeah, thank you for sharing how you guys discovered the game. But yeah, like, and as I said earlier, there are a vast with this amazingly perfect game, in my opinion. Um, there are obviously a lot of characters, like again, with Final Fantasy, you always get a range of characters, like the stoic, not stoic, but more like, kind of aloof Cloud who wants to kind of just, he's not really interested in anything. You've got, the energetic Tidus, you've got like, again, the stoic Kane. There's always characters there's a whole range of characters that, have all sorts of different personalities, and you can't help but love these characters. Some that you may not like as more than others, and vice versa. But in every Final Fantasy since 2, there's always characters like the characters stand out, especially the main characters. And like I said, for this podcast, we're going to talk about the characters of Final Fantasy 9, what we think about them, and just go into depth into about who they are as people. And of course, we will start with our main boy Zidane, he's the game's thief. He's the game's main character, and he's the thief of the game. So he steals. He's generally kind of speedy, kind of agile, and yeah. And as like I said, every character has a dilemma in the game they try and work through. Zidane and they each have a word related to this dilemma, and a quote related to this dilemma as well, with Zidane's being virtue. You don't need a reason to help people. And I think this speaks volume to Zidane as a character, because it means he's not afraid to just do the right thing to help someone with no questions asked, like if they need it. He's always wanted to help. He's always wanted to make sure people smile. And some quotes that I seen of Zidane that I think embody this, and I'm going to read them out now. The first one is, sometimes you can't think everything out. You have to listen to your heart, which says a lot about Zidane, because, he's very straightforward. He's very straightforward. He doesn't overcomplicate things. He tries to simplify it as, you just have to just do it. Just go ahead and do it. If it feels right, do it. And, especially when it comes to helping people, jump first, ask questions later. Especially when it's like, for example, he jumps to help Garnet straight away. Doesn't care the whole building's crumbling. Straight in there. Doesn't even hesitate. And then another one is heroic, human. Those are just things people say after the fact. It's not what the people say afterward. What's important is being true to oneself. And that's something I think attributes to his character as well. because with some conversations he has with Vivi, he's always telling Vivi, that find out who you are, and he tries to help Vivi find out who he is, more about himself, and try and help Vivi with the confidence of being who he is. And it shows that Zidane is definitely he's more than willing to help them out, help people out with any sort of dilemma because if he cares about them. And then, of course, the last quote is, I just want to protect the people I'm with. Doesn't matter whether I can or not. It's what I believe in. Again, another quote that really speaks to the character he is. He's noble-hearted. He's compassionate. Again, he will help someone who he cares about. No questions asked, just because he wants to see them smile. And I think this really sells out. This really stands out to us as a Zidane character. He's a noble thief kind of character. He's got the heart of a noble knight, but even though he's just a thief, he's just a commoner. He doesn't even know who he is, but he doesn't know who he is, where he comes from. But it doesn't stop him from constantly smiling, constantly helping people, constantly being there for people who need it. And I think that it helps make him a very amazing protagonist. But what do you think, T. Shaw? What these quotes and everything about Zidane? What do you think about Zidane and how these define who he is as a character?
I think, well, first and foremost, like I remember those quotes during my my playthrough, and it just I remember just like I can just tell like Zidane is just a person that will always put like his friends and just like his beliefs first before anything else, like action first, questions later, like you said. And to me that just really that to me just speaks to me to how he is as a character. But even I won't spoil for those who haven't played yet, but just like near the end of the game where he's going through just going through this turmoil in his head, and just kind of pushes away, but his friend the friends that he made along the way help reassure him that they're there for him, and just that they're inspiring him in the way that he did for them, that make him in that they made them into made his friends into better people, and in turn they're showing that appreciation back, reassuring like it doesn't matter where you're from, who you are, what, or just it's just kind of it's the type of person that you are that matters more than anything else.
Yeah, that's definitely that's definitely good words. I definitely agree with that as well. And it's like you said, the type of person you are is what matters. And Zidane, just wants people to stick to that type of person. So yeah, I love the way you put in that, T. I love the way you see that. You definitely seem to have a good like grasp of who Zidane is, and in your own eyes, and I really like that. But what about you, Vian? What does Zidane, these quotes and how Zidane is and his dilemma? What do they speak to you as a person, like to him as a character?
Well, I think Zidane's really interesting because to me, he's always been kind of a subversion of kind of like what he is. Because, he's kind of cocky and he's a little bit like careless. Like he doesn't have a lot of responsibility. He doesn't really care about a lot of things. And, he's a big flirt. And he teases a lot, like how he calls Steiner rusty. And it seems like, he doesn't really respect him. But even if he doesn't entirely respect someone, he's still gonna make sure they're okay. And like him just being, because he's not, I use the word himbo a lot. He's not a himbo, right? Like he's not, but he has on the surface he seems like he would be. But he's got a lot of emotional intelligence and just a lot of care for all these characters. And the scene I really like too is when he's telling his backstory, almost like a fairy tale to Garnet, and showing like he does have a dark side, and he doesn't have the most humble beginnings either, but it kind of shaped him into wanting to care about other people, even though he kind of has this attitude of like, oh well, like I don't really care about anyone, like I don't really care about anything. Like, he's playful, but he's not like irresponsible in the typical sense. And I think that's what makes him really interesting, especially with all those quotes, because when you look at his design and you kind of see how he talks to other characters, but then you get those raw emotional moments, it it just shows how layered and
Mm.
multifaceted he is, and I really like that about him because he's not a typical, especially at that time too. Like like you said, we had the brooding characters, like we had
Yeah.
Cloud, and then we had Leon, Squall, and they're just they have their soft sides too, and they're also great characters for different reasons. But it's on the surface, like Zidane,'s a complete 180, but he really isn't, all things
Mm.
considered, and that's what I like about him.
Yeah, like there's like a lot of depth to Sedan, like yeah, just a lot of depth to him, like more than meets the eye kind of thing. Yeah, like I get what you mean. Like yeah, and you make some very good points there as well. Yeah, like, yeah, he's more emotionally intelligent than he lets on. He at first he seems like he's more devil may care. He's not really bothered about anything. He's not really motivated by anything. But behind those blue eyes of his, yeah, there's more like there's gears are constantly turning. There, like he's constantly there's layer after layer and layer. And it's like you said, you mentioned when you speak about his backstory, that night in the Black Mage Village, where he says about how he doesn't know where he comes from, and even the home he had, where Baku, his adopted father, used to beat him, and when he came home, he beat him and that, but it still felt home to him. And it's like, yeah, like Zidane is there's a lot more of depth to him than just womanizing thief, but yeah, like he's definitely a character he goes for a lot of changes as well. Like when he finds out, that he's a genome and that he's from Terra, like he goes for a lot more change. He becomes a bit more serious until he suddenly gets all broody and depressed, and he constantly questions himself. But even after that, like in the end of the game, and that he has his old personality back, but there's still that extra layer of maturity to it because he's now discovered who he is. He knows what's important. He knows what he has to do, and yeah, and it definitely adds to his depth and just his well-roundedness as a character. Like one of my favorite characters of all time. Um,
And
yep. So,
And I think it speaks a lot to Zidane as a character. Or spoilers for the end. Sorry, close your ears if you don't want to hear it. Where at the end, he even chooses to stay with
mm,
Kuja,
yes.
because the whole thing about Final Fantasy IX and why I like it so much, like, and how you're saying, like, Zidane, he didn't really know what home was, and
Mm,
even though his home was awful, like he's getting beaten every day, that was what home was to him. The whole point of the game is that home isn't four walls. It's who you
mm,
choose to spend your time with, who your
mm.
family is,
Oh
your
yeah.
found family. And he, he found his home, his found family, and he had a reason to go home,
Mm,
but he still chose to stay with Kuja in what he thought was his final moments, because even though Kuja, was the main villain the whole
mm.
time, he doesn't deserve to be without a home either,
Mm,
especially because, they kind of are brothers,
yeah.
and so it's not even just him being, I mean, it is him being who he is, but it's also he has that loyalty now. He
Mm,
knows what it means to be family and what that means, whether it's DNA or just the connection you make with somebody.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I like what you said. Like, I love what you said about the home isn't just four walls, and that does really speak volume because the party has become his home. It's like I'm showing my nerdiness here, but it's like a quote from Jiraiya from Naruto. Actually makes me think. You saying that made me think of it, and it definitely applies to here. Wherever someone is thinking of you, that place is your home, and that can attribute to Zidane a lot because the party members, even when he goes disappears for a year, they're still thinking about him. They're still wondering if he's okay. That he's still in their hearts, and that makes it so that those his friends, the party members, are his home. That's where he belongs. He's found the home that he's been looking for, and it was right in front of him. Like, so yeah, like it definitely adds to his character, like the whole, like, again, like you said, he's not afraid. He wasn't afraid to go back for Kuja, even though Kuja was his enemy, but Kuja's his brother. He at least wants to make sure Kuja's okay, because Kuja didn't have a home. He had no one he can depend on because yeah, he had all he had was darkness and empty heart in his empty heart, and yeah, and again, it just like you said, it says to his character that, you know, even he even shows mercy to his enemies, even cares about his enemies if he feels for them. And it definitely makes Zidane a very, you know, emotional but well-rounded character, a very mature character, and just someone we can definitely learn from, I find. But of course, moving on as well, we are moving on to Best Boy, everyone's favorite Best Boy, and my favorite Final Fantasy character of all time, Vivi. We are going on to the small black mage boy that everyone loves. And if you don't love Vivi, what the hell is wrong with you? No, I'm joking. But still, Vivi is awesome.
Don't slander best boy.
Exactly. Especially to Vianne, she will be after you. but but yes, Vivi is also a complex character. When we first see him, Vivi is, excuse me, Vivi is a simple boy of 8. Well, 8 or 9, but yeah, it is 8. His age is class as 8 in the game. Yeah, he's a simple boy of 8. You know, he's clumsy. He's not confident. He's very shy. He doesn't really speak up. He's very, you know, quiet and soft spoken. But he's definitely the character in the game that has the most growth. The character who I think he's more of the main character than Sedan because how Vivi is defined through the game. And Vivi's dilemma is also connected to the game and one of the main themes of the game, which is existence. And Vivi's quote is sorrow. The word is sorrow, with the quote being, "How do you prove that you exist? Maybe we don't exist." And it says a lot that an 8-year-old boy, an 8-year-old little black mage who has no idea where he came from, no real memory of where he came from, just like Sedan, and he is pondering this question, a question that some adults are even scared to ponder. And yeah, it definitely says a lot. And this is a question that he ponders throughout the game, trying to figure out who he is and struggling to find that answer, and scared, you know, constantly scared of finding the answer of what he may find. And there's some quotes that he has that really says about this and says about his growth in the game. Like, number one is, "I have to find out who I am. I'm scared. What if I'm not even human?" And this definitely speaks to his growth as well, because obviously he's a black mage, but not like normal black mages where there's just the outfit. Vivi is like, you know, he's got a blackened face. He's got no facial features except like glowing yellow eyes. You know, he doesn't look human, but he still has that fear that he's not human because again he doesn't know what he is exactly. And that quote just shows that even though he's scared, he still wants to find out who he is. He still wants to discover his you know, his origins, who he is as a person, who he is as a being. And it's something that no kid should ever have to go through, and yet Vivi goes through it scared at first and low confidence at first, but he goes for it and he grows through it. He grows with it to where he gets the confidence to say, "This is who I am. I'm accepting it. I'm going forward with life." And then another quote, which one of my favorite quotes, is, and this is from his message at the end. This is something he said from a speech that he does at the end. "You taught me that life doesn't last forever. That's why we have to help each other and live life to the fullest. Even if you say goodbye, you'll always be in our hearts. So I know we're not alone anymore." And and again, that adds to Vivi's character as well, because again, this is an 8-year-old child saying this, and he's saying this to Sedan, because like Vian says, mentioned, Sedan goes back for Kuja at the end of the game, and it skips ahead to a year, and Sedan hasn't been seen in a year. Vivi is basically saying this as a speech to Sedan, basically saying that, you know, Sedan was a brother to Vivi. He was a big brother to Vivi. He helped Vivi learn how to go through life, just not worrying about the problems, not at the problems that you face too much, but just trying to enjoy life as you can, and just find the answer in any way you can, and just, you know, stay true to yourself. And this quote just says a lot to how grateful Vivi is to Sedan's lessons, how Sedan helped him become a strong person regardless of who he is. And yeah, it just, again, it shows to his growth as a person, how this small timid 8-year-old boy has grown into a powerful, confident mage, and it's great. And then the last quote is, "Thanks for giving me time to think, to keep doing what you set your heart on. It's a very hard thing to do." And again, that's another quote that says, like Vivi knows that finding the answer of who he is going to be difficult. There's going to be challenges. There's going to be roadblocks. There's going to be answers that are going to scare the ever living crap out of him. But he still goes on from, because of Zadaan's guidance, because of Dagger's compassion, even Steiner becomes a very good friend to Vivi. Like Steiner constantly calls Vivi Master Vivi, as a sign of respect out of his and a bit of fear out because of Vivi's magical powers. But there is a part in the game where Vivi and Steiner are fighting together, and Steiner doesn't address him as Master Vivi. He says, "I trust you, Vivi." He drops the Master. So Vivi has earned the respect and the friendship of one of Alexandria's best knights just by being who he is, by being this friendly boy, this loyal, friendly boy who is scared, but he's still going on and trying his best. And there's definitely respect in that with Steiner dropping the Master. He knows that Vivi has earned his respect as a strong individual. And again, it says a lot. Again, it says a lot about Vivi, the fact that he is, despite this fear of trying to figure out who we are. Because I think we've all experienced that. Sometimes we don't know who we are. We want to figure out who we are or who we are as a person. That's just life. But Vivi definitely has a lot harder time of it. It has a scarier time than most of it. But with the lessons he learns from Zidane, he definitely goes through some trials. But seeing his growth through the game is, in my opinion, one of the best parts of the game, because again, we see this small timid boy grow up, find himself, and grow up to be a powerful, confident mage who just has the respect and love of so many people. But yeah, what do you? Obviously, if anyone who's seen Twitch as well, Vian on Twitch, you'll see that she obviously loves Vivi as well, as you can see by her Twitch profile picture if you go on Twitch. So Vian, all that we said about these quotes and that, and Vivi's, his dilemma. What do you think as Vivi as a person? Like, how do these quotes and his growth in the game, like, how do they attribute to him as a person, as a character?
I think the Vivi is definitely one of those characters that like the fact that his lifespan is so short is what makes him so special.
Mm.
Because like how Bronx is pointing out in the chat, I think there's somewhere where they say that Vivi is only actually like 6 months old.
Yeah,
But he's like mentally an
Mm.
8-year-old. Like he'd be like a 8-year-old human, but he's only been alive for like 6 months.
Yeah,
And so like he's already
prototype.
so when the game starts, he's lived like half his life already.
Mm.
And I think in a weird way that's almost like a midlife crisis, even though Vivi's so young.
Mm.
Because like he doesn't know anything about life. He doesn't know what he is, what his purpose is. He finds out his true purpose, and he just feels like a monster, even though he isn't one. But that's where he was created from. And I just think it speaks a lot that his actions and who he is as a person, his personality, speak more than his past does. And I think that's the same for people in real life. Like I've had friends who, they've like they've been homeless, or like they've gotten into like serious drug problems and stuff, or they used to be in jail, and it's really quick for us to judge people like that, and a lot of times it is. But at the same time, there are a lot of people that do want to better themselves, and obviously in a video game, in a story like this, there's probably a lot easier things to go with it because it's a story, right? And they don't have the barriers that we do in real life, like poverty or the economy. But it's the fact that Vivi, despite learning everything, he, even if his life in the end, quote unquote, doesn't matter, he still wants to do something that matters to somebody. And it just so happens he happens to be on a journey that affects everyone in the world. But he's not doing that alone either. He wants to play his part in the bigger picture. And just seeing him grow more confident and more sure of himself, like, just shows the respect he's earned from Steiner. Like how Steiner called him Master Vivi, as a sign of respect, but also just because Steiner is Steiner. It's just Vivi's grown into his own person where he kind of doesn't need a title like that anymore, because he's just Vivi, and Vivi defined his own being, and I just think that's what makes him really cool. And like how you're saying, Bahamut, like so many people, argue that Final Fantasy IX, even though Sedan's the protagonist, it's Vivi's story
Mm.
because his story is so entwined with mortality and existence and what it even means to be alive. And through all the characters you see that, but especially with Vivi because he's on a time limit. But
Mm.
so were all the other characters. It's just Vivi's is much more apparent. He knows exactly, about how much time he has left and what he can or can't do. And we show him being vulnerable, scared, and afraid. And I
Mm.
think that's really important because not everyone's brave right away. Who can be? So Vivi just taking his time to grow into, like, his own skin and his own personality and his own abilities, and being there for Zidane when Zidane hits his low point, even though Zidane kind of was always the big brother, I think just shows how much of a relationship those two have, but also how great of characters they are.
Mm.
And I know Final Fantasy IX doesn't have the biggest fan base compared to some other Final Fantasy games, especially 7, but I love how a lot of Japanese artists just when they draw Final Fantasy IX fan art, it's just Zidane and Vivi hanging out.
Mm.
Like like they're not like they'll just like be having a drink at the cafe or something. Like they're
Yeah.
just hanging out. They're just two dudes. And I think that just shows how there's so much simplicity
Mm.
in what in like their characters and their journey that they just to them living is just having
Mm.
a drink or just going for a walk or something.
Yeah.
Just like you started off the game playing jump rope. Like Vivi just
Oh,
like
we.
Vivi's just trying, and he doesn't even really like it at first. Like he
Mm.
just wants to go see the play and
Yeah.
like have a friend, and he found a family and he
Mm.
found his reason to exist where he's not scared anymore.
Yeah.
And I think all of us reach that point at some point,
Oh,
and
definitely.
it's just really nice to see a full arc like that where he is
Mm.
scared and unsure and very lost, but it just shows how important it is to keep going and
Mm.
how you can turn it into something good even if it seems like bad news.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, even if the answers may scare us, we still gotta keep going because sometimes you'll just feel better just knowing. And like, yeah, Vivi definitely has like, yeah, an arc. Like, he's definitely got a good arc going for the game. And it's funny you mentioned about the fan art as well. I actually saw years ago a fan art of someone drew of Zidane and Vivi just staring at the stars. Like, they were just staring at the stars, like laid back and that, and it was
That's
really
so
sweet.
cute.
It is. It was really sweet. It was really adorable, and it just, yeah, it looked really right, because again, Zidane was basically a big brother to him, and yeah, Vivi's definitely a character who defines the game. Like, he's definitely, like we said, like we both said, he is FF9 is his game because he affects it the most, and hell, even in the Black Mage Village when he has the he has his he finds a very flat black mages, and he wonders if he's gonna stay there or not, and he has that dilemma of does he stay there, the black mages, does he continue with Sedan? But even then, the black mages were scared of him at first because they thought that he brought humans to bring them back to war, but he connected with them. Vivi's innocence and his kindness connected with them, and he was able to learn from them. And they for him, and that definitely speaks volumes about Vivi, as a person, how he can affect his innocence can affect everyone. But what about you, T? What are your thoughts on Vivi and the dilemma he goes through the game?
I'm gonna be completely honest. Both of you hit all the points that I was thinking about.
Fair enough.
Like, so I really don't have much to add if I'm
Mm.
gonna be, but I will say, even though it is like a really like a sad moment, but it's also a true like defining moment for him is when Vivi, and I think it's Black Mage 28.
Oh,
It's
Black Mage number 288.
That's right, 288. Yeah, when they're at the graveyard for
Mm.
the black mages that have died or have
Stopped.
quote unquote stop moving, turned
Mm.
off, all that stuff. Even though it's like a really like heart-wrenching scene, and you just see, you want to give Vivi a big hug
Mm. Hug
because
best
he's
boy.
best boy, but it's just I feel like that right there is his defining moment in a sense. Like it's the beginning of him like not being like the scared, timid boy that he was when he was first in Alexandria wanting to just play. It's where he's finally like pondering, like, oh, how can I exist? How is life like meaningful to me? How can I make it better for me and for my friends and stuff like that? And I feel like that's just the 180 that it takes him.
Yeah.
Even though you still want to give him a big hug.
Oh yeah, you do. Yeah.
Yeah, but just honestly, that is what I would say is just like his defining moment that makes him into like a better character and who he is at the end of the game and near the end of his life as well. So just other than that, you guys hit everything that I wanted to say.
That's fair. And looking in the chat, Bronx says, my fave view moment is after you resolve the Black Mages working for Kuja. Oh, I'm guessing he means in Mount Gulug. And he tells Zidane, all I can do is sit with them. And yeah, that is a good point, Bronx. That's a sign that's a point where Vivi doesn't know what to do. He has no idea what to do. He didn't know what he was going to do when faced this moment. But he's still got the courage to at least just do what he thinks feels right, and just sitting with the Black Mages when they find out that their lifespan can't be extended. All he can do is sit with them, and it just shows more. It just shows to Vivi's kindness and his good heart. Like even if he doesn't know what to do, he'll still just try. Like at the end of disc 2, where Queen Bran, Garnet's mother, who used the Black Mages for evil and for war, she dies. She passes away, and Dagger is by her side, and Bran's finally lost this greed, this haze of greed that's been overshadowing her. Vivi has every right to hate Bran for using the Black Mages for war, but he doesn't. He feels for Dagger. He feels for Garnet. He stands there on the beach watching Garnet's last moments with losing her second mother, like losing her another mother. You know, he's watching this. He's never really experienced death like this. Like he's never really experienced it. Like we had his grandfather pass away, and you know he was confused about that, but he at least had some idea. But this is a true raw like moment of death where he's actually seeing someone die, and it's someone he wants to hate. Like he knows, like he has every right to hate, but he doesn't. He feels for Dagger. You can tell he's upset for Dagger. And even the last words he says before disc ends, we headed back to Alexandria in Queen Bran's escape pod, and we brought Garnet's mother with us. So he can't hate Bran because yes, she did use the Black Mages for war, but seeing Garnet cry and weep for her mother, who's now died in pretty much in her arms, it feels for Vivi because he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that. He only had his grandfather, who was adopted grandfather. You know, and he only had him, so he has some small idea of it. But to be faced with this, seeing death in person, it really affects him, and it just adds to his character the fact that a person he has every right to hate, and he feels sorrow at their passing, simply because it's one of his friends is now in turmoil because of it. And it definitely helps to have the fact that Vivi is a carer. He cares about those around him, and yeah, he's definitely a key point of this game, a keystone of this game, of him being a compassionate soul who just wants to find out who he is. Like he's definitely an important part of this game, I find. And moving on to everyone's favorite princess, we have Garnet, who is the princess of Alexandria at the start of the game, who Zidane kidnaps to get her away from Alexandria and her warmongering mother. And Zidane's got Zidane.
Darn it.
Ship name approved. There we go. Ship name started. But yeah, like Garnet's dilemma is she knows that she's gonna have to rule Alexandria these days, but she does not feel ready. She doesn't feel like she is worthy of the throne. She's worried that she'll be a bad ruler. She'll end up letting her people down. She's constantly going through this. Like this is plaguing her constantly because excuse me, simply because she's unable to do anything to stop Bran from waging war on the four major continents of Fantasy 9. She's unable to stop Bran from waging war, from using the Black Mages, from committing these atrocities. And she feels like if she can't even stop her mother doing this, how is she supposed to run a kingdom? And this is shown in her word, the word that defines her, and her quote. The word is devotion. She's devoted to her kingdom. She wants to do right by them, but she's unsure how. And her quote is, "Someday I will be queen, but I will always be myself." And this is something that Dagger goes through as well. She's always unsure of herself to the point where she doesn't know who she is as a person. Is she just some princess who's supposed to sit there and just let things happen, do her duty? Or is she someone who's supposed to do what she can for her people, even though it means going against her mother? She wants Alexandria to be safe. She wants to protect Alexandria. She wants to be a good queen, but she doesn't know how to do it. And it means she ends up questioning herself a lot because of her inaction, her inability to help. And it definitely adds to her turmoil that she goes through and the growth she goes through of trying to figure out how to be a better ruler, how to be the ruler she should be. And some of her quotes even exemplify this as well. Like, no matter how hard I try, I'm always a step behind in everything. Again, speaking to her inability to even stop her mother. She goes to Alexandria to try and stop her mother, or there's a part in the game where they find out her mother attacked one of the countries. So she instead of going with Zidane and the others to the country that she attacked, Garnet heads back to Alexandria, and drugging Zidane and friends with some sleeping weed to knock them out because she knows they'll say no. She's unsure if it's the right decision, but she still goes to do it anyway because it's at least feels like she needs to do it. She needs to do something. She needs to stop this inability, to stop her mother. She wants to do what she can, even if she's still unsure of herself. And another quote that really speaks to her uncertainty of who she is as well is, "I don't know what the future holds, but I want to finish what I came for." She doesn't know. Again, she doesn't know if she's going to be a good queen. She doesn't know if she's going to be a good ruler. But after journeying with Zidane and friends, she realizes that who cares? She's got whether all she can do is do what she can here and now. Whether she becomes a good ruler or not, that's something that she's gonna have to worry about in the future. But right now, she wants to do all she can to cement the present and save the world in the present, help people in the present, so she can try and be a better ruler later. And again, it speaks volumes to her, just her dedication to her people. Of again, she's unsure about herself, but she's still going on, despite the fact that, like Vivi, she doesn't have all the answers. She doesn't know the answer. Doesn't have the answer she wants, and she's still uncertain of herself. She doesn't have much confidence in herself, and she's questioning herself. And another quote as well. This one, I think, really cements her growth. And she says this to, I think she says this to Zidane at the end of the game. "We face many hardships too, but I think I finally know what's important." So, at the end, she finally realizes that it doesn't matter if she's a good ruler, if she ends up being a good ruler or not. She shouldn't worry about that. All she should do is just do what she can for her people. All she got to do is just do what she can to help those she cares about, and to just lead her people as best as she can. Whether she's seen as a good ruler or not, she still at least knows that what's important. What's important is to just do what you can and stick to it. Do what you can, stick to it, and just stick to yourself. And again, I think it speaks volumes to her character and her growth in the game, where she starts off as this unsure princess who she's completely she doesn't know about the outside world much. She doesn't have Zidane's world experience. And so she's still, again, unsure. but she still goes on regardless and trying to find these answers. But what do you think, T. Shaw? What do you think about Garnet's dilemma for the game and her growth into trying to be a good ruler and that? What do you think?
Honestly, I think that at the beginning, just she's just like, oh, I just want to get out of like royalty. I want to just experience the world a little bit, and then just after Braun dies,
Mm,
um, that's when and like Alexandria is destroyed, and then
mm,
she goes mute.
yeah.
I feel like that is even though like we want her to to have her voice back, we love Garnet, we love Dagger, all that stuff, but in a sense it's good that she's going through that because um it gives her time to like just process like
Mm,
how can she become a better person, not only for herself, not only for like Zidane and the group, and for Alexandria as a whole. And when that scene when she cuts her hair, which I know is
mm,
like tradition in Japanese, like women cut their hair as a signifying way of like growth,
mm,
and she's putting her past behind her, like even with all the atrocities that Braun did, she still wants to become a better person for herself, but also for her people, like you said.
mm.
And I think that's a really good like just a character building that she has. It's just she goes from kind of a naive girl that just like, oh, I want to explore the world a little bit, yeah, I want to get kidnapped, I want to just do this and that, but just deep inside though she still worries about like her mom, she still worries about like her kingdom, and just thinks that, oh, did I do the right thing by leaving,
Mm.
or just and just she questions that. I think it was more expanded upon like at the end of disc 1, if I'm remembering correctly, like when she's going back to
Mm.
Alexandria with Steiner.
Yes.
um and just that she needs to see for herself, like not with like the outside, or well, not even like really outside, but just like Zidane be like, no, 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 don't go back, or just something. Oh, Braun's not worth it. She's not gonna listen to reason or anything like that.
Mm.
So in a sense, like on paper, it seems like, oh, come on, this is a bad idea. Why are you still doing it? But she's still doing it because she has the curiosity of herself, or like
Mm.
she wants to find out for herself. And I don't know. I just think that that's a good, like she wants to be independent and just get the answers for herself, rather than just be like being told like, oh, don't do this, don't do
Mm.
that, you know.
Like you said, yeah, she definitely goes for a lot. Like you said, like, she goes mute after both loses her mother and Alexandra gets ruined, and that scene, like again, like you said, yeah, that is a pivotal point for Dagger because it means she's everything, all the uncertainty and the bad feelings and the turmoil she's facing, it's all come full circle. It's all just kind of like hit her all at once to the point where she can't really process it. And her going mute, yeah, it's like she needs the time to process it, to heal, to decide what she wants to do, how she wants to go forward. Until she does, yeah, she cuts her hair and she she gets determined. She's like, you know what, I'm gonna go forward with it. I've had bad things happen. I've lost my mother. I've lost my kingdom, but I'm still gonna go through with it, and I'm just gonna do what I can. And yeah, it definitely speaks to her strength as well, like as that she needs as a ruler. And yeah, I think you make like a lot of great points there. She's got a curiosity of, I can't believe my mother would do this, but I need to know anyway. Like, and it definitely says a lot about like just her uncertainty, but still her resolution to go forward with it. Excuse me. But
Hmm.
what do you think, Vian? What's your take on Dagger and her turmoil for the game and such?
I think it's really important to show that, and even if it's annoying mechanic
Mm,
wise, Like I know people that they take Garnet anyway because they didn't read the dialogue well enough, or they keep her in her
Hmm.
party in their party because like there's certain areas where you might want to keep her even if whatever.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own strategy with how they play the game. But like I've heard people complain about like, oh, like she doesn't do anything in like the party, and it's like, well, like yeah, it's annoying gameplay wise, but
Hmm.
it makes you pay attention to it. And as much as I love Garnet, I do feel like she does get a little bit overshadowed by Vivi and Zidane because they're just such great
Hmm.
characters. And um, with a cast like this, it's kind of hard to not have someone get overcast, right? But I think it's just because she goes through a hard time and she's visibly struggling, it doesn't make her any less strong.
Yeah.
And I think it's very nice, for lack of a better word, to show that weakness. Um, and just show, she can get through it. If she can get through it, then anyone else can. And I just think it's like a really good way to go through her arc because, of course, a lot of games, especially other Final Fantasy games, they show characters giving up
Hmm.
or being sad at what they go through, but they don't show it the way that they do with Garnet. And I think, and I haven't played all the Final Fantasy games, and I don't know a lot about the earlier ones, so correct
Hmm.
me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's any other instance where something like this happens in any of them, which what it makes 9 stand out even more.
Hmm.
And I don't know if there's any, because I know in 7 there's a sequence where you cannot play as certain characters,
Yeah.
but it's less to do with them dealing with certain things and more so they just choose to stay in a certain location because of the story.
Hmm.
And of course, like, their psyche goes into that. But, like there's that part in like the latter half of disc 2 with Tifa and Cloud, and you have to run around in the world as like Sid for a little bit because like other party members aren't there, so like
Hmm.
all that's left is like Barrett and Sid. And it's like that's and like that's memorable, but
Hmm.
it's not the same thing. It's not like Tifa is just like
Hmm.
it's not like she chooses to not fight or she's so overcome that she doesn't. It's just in that moment she's like, I'm not leaving this location.
Yeah.
Which that's I feel like while it's similar and can be compared, it's not exactly the same
Hmm.
thing. It like Garnet in this instance knows she can't turn back, but it's just too much and she needs time to deal with it, and she does.
Hmm.
And her just staying silent just shows how much of a toll it's taking on her because like T-Shaw said, like she was a little bit naive, like she was, and she's a lot sassier than people
Hmm.
give her credit
Oh
for.
yeah.
um like this girl's got some balls on her, and a lot of
Yeah.
people don't see that at first. But
Yeah.
it's the fact that she was so excited to see outside the castle, to like so determined to
Hmm.
figure out what's going on with Queen Braun, and just to, learn things herself, and all of that's just sapped
Hmm.
away. And she's just an empty shell of who she was. And then she comes back stronger than ever to the point where, she's almost a different character at the end. I just think that's another great sense of strength, and it's something I really like about 9 as a whole, is they're
Hmm.
not afraid to show their characters be very vulnerable in ways that are very impactful. And despite it being controversial as a mechanic, I still think it's genius that they showed Garnet go through it like that.
Hmm.
It's very needed for her character specifically, but also just for the story to land better. I think it's necessary, and it's what makes her so memorable.
Hmm. Yeah, it's definitely a sequence that stands out, and yeah, you were right. Not many Final Fantasies actually have done what they've done. They've had characters go through a bit of despair, but none in the fact that, like you said, you got like in Final 7, you got Cloud basically being comatose because of Mako poisoning, but it's not on the same level of that of Garnet. Like, she's lost pretty much everything, almost everything that's important to her except her friends, and it hits her so hard that she literally loses her. She's not choosing to speak. She's not to speak. She literally can't speak. Then that it's hit her so hard. So yeah, it definitely stands out among the other Final Fantasies. It's a really hard hitting part because it's like it makes you realize like, yeah, this. this is what turmoil does. This is what tragedy does to you. What it can do to you, and with Garnet having to go through all this and just hold it back, like, yeah, it definitely makes her stand out as a strong-willed queen, strong-willed character who has she has gone through the ringer. She's gone through the ringer, but she's come out stronger because of it, and it definitely makes her stand out as one of the most iconic female characters in Final Fantasy because of what she goes through. But yeah, like, she is honestly an amazing character because of it. Before we move on to the next character, though, there was something about Vivi I did want to say that I forgot to say. Another scene that I found also really showed, the kind of turmoil that, the dilemma he's going through, is the scene on the airship when you fight Black Waltz 3. He sees all those black mages just get destroyed by Black Waltz 3, and you just see Vivi's like, he doesn't have facial features, but you can see in his eyes he is sad, he's terrified, and he just sees them like fall into the ground, and it's like where he sees the hat that's on the side, like, and it blows away, and Vivi just hangs his head in sadness. Like, it definitely helps with his character. Like, you can see that, that turmoil he's got of, he's questioning himself because of that scene. That scene always gets me.
The part where he hugs Garnet too.
Yeah, Garnet like holds him close and that, and he lowers his head. You can see the sadness in his eyes, even though he has no idea what's going on. But he's terrified, he's scared, and yeah, it definitely like adds to his turmoil. Like, it's that scene always makes me sad every time.
Yeah.
One more thing I did want to say about Vivi, though, is a fun little fact as well, which about his name actually as well, that also adds to his character and the whole theme of existence with him. Vivi's name Vivi is the past tense, a past tense of the Spanish verb vivir, which means to live. So Vivi's name can actually be translated as "I lived," and for those who know what happens at the end of the game, like, he's gonna stop, he's gonna die essentially. The fact that his name can be translated to "I lived" really exemplifies his character, his whole theme of existence. Have I existed? Do I exist? And it adds a lot of, like, it just adds more and more to layers to the whole, to the enigma, the depth that is Vivi, and I love that. I love that Square Enix did that. It's a very nice touch, very nice touch. But moving on, we've got Sir Rustalot himself, Steiner. Because whereas Vivi is the black mage of the games, Dagger is the Garnet is the white mage and the slash summoner, Steiner is the paladin slash dark knight, and he's a straight arrow. He believes in doing what's right, but doing what's right, being noble, sticking to the rules and regulations. He's very straight, like I said, straight arrow. But he goes for a dilemma in the game where once he finds out what Bron is doing, at first he refuses to see it. He refuses to see it, even though the answer is staring him right in the face. He's constantly defending Bron. Oh, the Queen would never do this. No, this must be a lie. This cannot be true. No, but he constantly refuses to see it because of his loyalty. He knows that knights swear fealty, and this is said in the word that describes him, which is dilemma, which is what he goes through. And the quote, "Having sworn fealty, must I spend my life in servitude?" Because something Baku says to him in the game really makes Steiner think. And that is, have you no thoughts of your own? And this makes Steiner question, like, his own life. Like, he's constantly lived in servitude. Ever since he became a Knight of Pluto, he's constantly lived in servitude to Alexandria. No thoughts of his own, just doing what the Queen says, doing what what is commanded of him. That he never needed to bother about anything else. But when Baku posed that question to him, it makes Steiner really question just what is he doing? Why is he just a tool to blindly serve, or is he someone who does he really need to find out? Like, think for himself again, like, decide for himself what is right, who he should follow, who he should take orders from. And it's hard. And even though Steiner is a bit of a prick at the start, I will say this: he's a bit of a dick. Like, he's not very nice to Sedan. He's very abrupt. He's very grumpy. He's kind of rude. Like, but like even going to just even going as far as just to say Zidane is just a common thief. But for him to experience this where he has to, he's being questioned, do you not have any thoughts of your own? It makes him question everything, and how he is as a person. Should I have treated Zidane this way? Should I have maybe listened more to his way of life? You know, stuff like that. And it speaks a lot about, Steiner and what he goes through in the game. And his quotes say this as well. Like, a true man never gives up in a fight. Again, he's a straight arrow. You know, he is stubborn. He's stubborn. He believes in what is right. He'll stand up for what he believes is right. He won't back down. He has the bravery worthy of a knight captain. And another one that really speaks to how he is as a character and how he grows as well. And he says this to Zidane at the end. And you can just hear the respect he has for Zidane after he's got his own thoughts and he really thinks about who he is as a person and who he should really follow. And again, this quote speaks volumes to that. Where is it? I just lost it. Yeah. Chivalry requires a knight to look after his comrades in arms. I will not abandon you, and I shall follow you to kingdom come if I must. You remember that. So he says this to Zidane at the end of the game when Zidane decides to go back for Kuja. And it speaks volumes because at the start, Steiner would have happily had Zidane executed. He wouldn't have bothered. He wouldn't have cared. He would have happily had Zidane executed for kidnapping the princess. But he moves from not being afraid to have Zidane executed to saying, I shall petition for a life sentence on his behalf. He will at least grant Zidane mercy because Zidane at least helped Garnet make her way onto the cargo ship at the start of the game. So he's not above mercy. But then as he goes through the game, he butts heads with Zidane. He questions Zidane's way of life. Again, calling him a rogue and a thief. They butt heads. But at the end of it, after Steiner has finally learned to think for himself, he decides that Zidane is a man worthy of his respect, his loyalty, and his dedication. He is a man. Again, I'm going to be very nerdy here, but it's like a quote a character says in the Hobbit films, for example, when they look up at Thorin Oakenshield. Steiner, this makes me think of Steiner, right? There is a man I could call king. He looks at Zidane that same way. That he would call Zidane his king. He would take orders from Zidane because Zidane has earned his trust. Zidane has earned his leadership. He is ready to follow Zidane into death because he has earned Zidane. Zidane has earned his trust, and he's been able to think for himself and realize this is who I need to fight for. This is the man who is going to does what's right. And again, it just speaks volumes to his honor as well. The whole chivalry thing. And one other quote as well that really speaks to his dilemma as well, and his not thinking for himself. I may not know who I really am, but that is my question alone to answer. So he knows that only he can find the answer to who he is. Why he doesn't have any thoughts of his own. But he's not afraid to go. He's not afraid to stand up and find those answers. Even though he doesn't know. Still has no thoughts. He'll still stick by his comrades, and it says a lot about his honor, his nobility, his loyal heart. But what do you guys think? What do you think, Vian? How does all of this define Steiner to you as a person?
I really like Steiner
Mm.
because even he's like comic relief, so it's kind of hard to not like him. But
Yeah.
I really like him because he is so loyal that it's like a double-edged sword and it actually bites his ass in the end. That like you said, do you not have any thoughts of your own? Because he thinks he's being loyal, he thinks he's doing the right thing, and his whole worldview kind of gets turned upside down where he thinks he's doing the right thing and he thinks he's being loyal, but where's his humanity if he's kind of the yes man to the queen when she's actively starting a war, and he's going after Garnet because that's his duty to protect her, but he's not realizing why she's leaving in the first place, why she thought she had to be kidnapped because she couldn't do it on her own. That's the only way she could get kidnapped and get out of the castle and start her own journey. And I just think over the course of the game, when you uncover and you see kind of just how his whole worldview, his whole ideology changes and what it actually means to be loyal. I just think it's a really good arc, and it makes him one of the more interesting
Mm.
characters in the whole series to me. I think a lot of Final Fantasy 9 characters are underrated, especially
Mm.
Garnet, but Steiner, man, Steiner needs more
Mm.
recognition. I think he's
Yeah.
one of the best in the whole franchise
Oh,
for his
definitely.
art, and just seeing, like, and he's very much like Waka from 10 in that sense, because
Mm.
Waka starts out, everyone makes the jokes about Waka, but Waka starts out very flawed, and over the course of the game you see his whole ideology and what he thinks is the truth change,
Mm.
and that's what makes Waka so good in the end, because you know that he's capable of change, and it's just a really satisfying character arc. And
Mm.
like Steiner obviously isn't you know as racist, for lack of a better word. He's
Yeah.
not as he's not discriminatory in the way that Waka was, because Waka hated like a
Mm.
whole population of people, but he was still like, he didn't really trust Sidon, he didn't really trust Garnet even as supposed to, like
Mm.
known her for probably her whole life or however long he's been working there. He doesn't know the queen anymore, and he doesn't really realize that something's wrong with her,
Mm.
and he just shows people are capable of change, and how much strength that actually takes to be able to do. And
Mm.
loyalty, you can be loyal to somebody, and loyalty is not a bad thing, but you got to learn at some point you can't just follow around like a mindless cog. Like, for
Mm.
all intents and purposes, Steiner wasn't any better than any of those black mages that were
Mm.
just
Yeah.
brainless, heartless machines that were just told what to
Mm.
do. And seeing that on both sides is really interesting, especially when you have Vivi, who kind of is the quote unquote black sheep of the black
Mm.
mages, because he woke up and he had humanity.
Yeah, like there's definitely a lot that speaks about Steiner. Like you said, he has parallels to Walker. Like, again, Walker, like you said, Walker he hated all out bed because because of what happened with his brother and that. And but and yeah, and yeah, and he goes through the game like Steiner did. He starts to question what he sees as how he sees the world because of what he experiences. Like, he meets Riku, he finds out Riku's an Albed. He treats her with a bit of disdain. But then, as he sees that Riku is actually a nice person, she's a caring person, even though he still hasn't like fully accepted the Albed, he still is loyal to Riku. He will still fight by your side because she has at least earned his respect. And he then ends up, of course, going. He's not racist anymore. He starts accepting Albed. He's lost all of his prejudice. That's what I'm looking for. He's lost all his prejudice. And yeah, Steiner's the same. He stops treating Sedan like a thief. He stops treating Dagger like she's a child who should be guided. He starts, respecting them. He starts standing. He starts standing not in front of them, but beside them. He stands beside them as equals because they have earned his respect. They've earned his loyalty because he's fought for himself. And he's realized these are the people I can follow. These are the people I can fight with. And yeah, it definitely speaks volumes to his. It's like you said, loyalty. It's not easy to find that loyalty, to question your loyalty. Like, yeah, loyalty is not a bad thing, but sometimes it can be misplaced. And Steiner's was definitely misplaced. It made him blind. But only when he opened his eyes did he realize the truth. Was like, okay, I need to decide where I place my loyalties. And yeah, it definitely helps to his growth. But what about you, T? How does all this define Steiner as a person for you? Like, what do you think about Steiner?
I'll be honest, like at the beginning, I when I first yeah, I thought that Steiner was a prick
Mm.
too. Like, just but he also had his goofy moments, which also made me love him at the
Mm.
same time. Love-hate
Yeah.
relationship, to say the least.
Yeah.
But just kind of the definition of loyalty as well, that that you both were talking
Mm.
about. One thing that came to mind during that was kind of the like Alexandria's last stand, so to say.
Yes.
Like when like he Beatrix and Freya
Mm.
are like fighting Oh God, I'm blanking on
The
the names. The, like the
Bandersnatch?
bug things.
Oh no, you mean
Yeah,
when
I think so.
him and Beatrix are defending Alexandria against the Mistodons? Yeah.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's the ones, yes.
Yeah.
It just like that loyalty to his country and
Mm.
just like that he will defend it, like even to the day he dies.
Yeah.
Just I feel like that whole sequence right there just really shows just how loyal he is. And then just later on, I remember you saying this when I was streaming it. I think it was after Braun
Mm-hmm.
died. He changed up his whole stance
Yeah.
and like his whole like fighting stance,
Mm.
and that's when he's really started to accept like Zidane as like kind of a good person,
Mm.
and Dagger not as a kid anymore,
Yeah.
and just I will admit he is kind of a little bit over obsessive with just like,
Mm.
oh, I need to the princess becomes is like first and foremost over everything else,
Mm.
just uh but it, but it just shows how much he cares. Sure, it can be like a bit of an annoyance for some people, but
Mm.
it just shows that he really, really does care and values just like her
Mm.
safety more than all else because of his loyalty.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
And and just kind of like you were saying, like with like how he completely accepts Zidane, like respects him, all
Mm.
that stuff, and that ending CG sequence
Yeah.
at the end of the game where Zidane's back, and then Steiner and Beatrix are like holding the door
Mm.
when Dagger's trying to run out, and then they both smile and open the door, and she runs out. That's just, I think it's awesome that just
Mm.
like he's still loyal to the princess, but he's um having his own thoughts,
Mm.
as you were saying, like he is accepting of their relationship and just
Yeah.
would defend them both with his life.
Mm.
So, and I think that's really speaks volumes to his character of loyalty.
Mm.
And hey, he got with Beatrix, so you
True.
can't say
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
he isn't one lucky motherfucker.
Yeah. True. Very true. Very true. But yeah, Steiner. Yeah, that scene always did get me because the old Steiner would have barred the door and said no, you can't. He's a brigand. He's a commoner. He's a thief. But no, in that scene, he opens the door and he goes, with a smile, is like, he smiles at Daggers. If you must, go ahead. Like he's accepted Zidane is a man of good character, and yeah, it definitely speaks volumes to that fact. Like you said, he's fought for himself and he's decided to, yeah, Garnet wants to be of him. I am not going to stop her. He's a good man. And it's like one line as well when Zadane's impressed as well. He actually says well, two lines technically. He says to Zidane when Zadane's depressed, I have still yet to decide if you are the right man for the princess. Like he's thinking about it. He's thinking, is Zidane is Zidane worthy of Dagger's hand? So again, like something that he wouldn't have actually even considered before. And then another time, when they're about to go to Memoria, he says, yeah, when Zidane says to him, when they see Beatrice charging on the Red Rose and that, Zidane says to him, quite a woman you fell in love with. And then Steiner just doesn't like really like get angry at Zidane. He just looks at him and goes, "You're one to talk," and because it's as if he's just accepted that Zidane and Dagger have fell in love. They fell in love. He's accepted it. He's like, yeah, I'm not going to stop it. Zidane is a good man. And yeah, it definitely speaks volumes to his loyalty. That loyalty he's obtained for Zidane because he's journeyed with him. He's learned. He's fought for himself. And he's just decided, you know what, I can follow this guy. He's earned my respect. He is my comrade in arms. Like the quote previous, like one of his quote previous said. And he's definitely a great character. Moving on as well, though, we have another character I really love. We have the game's Dragoon, Freya. A character who really goes through shit. Like she honestly has such a sad part in the game. Because Freya is a knight of a kingdom called Bermesia, a kingdom of rat people. Who unfortunately Bermesia gets attacked by Bran in the game, and basically the people get scattered, and Bermesia basically gets desolate and destroyed. And Freya wasn't able to do anything. And she also has this dilemma, this turmoil in the game where the man she loved journeyed away, and all she heard about him was whispers and rumors of his death. And then she finally finds him, and he's forgotten her. He has no memory of who she is. And the pain of this is also said in her quote and her word, which is despair, with the quote being, "To be forgotten is worse than death." And again, this is a man who she has dreamt endlessly of since he went off on an adventure to train, and for him to have forgotten every moment with her, it hurts because it's like she never existed in his life. And it definitely speaks a lot to Freya's turmoil because she's constantly had that gripping pain in her chest of, will I find him? Will I find him alive? Will I find him dead? And that mystery of it has really hurt her a lot. But for all this, she uses this pain to help guide other people and characters through the game as well. Like a quote she says to Vivi here, which is, "The answer you seek may forever change your life for the worse." So she says to Vivi that she tries to prepare for Vivi for the very same thing that she is afraid of. That the answer she finds about her long lost love, Sir Fratley, it may change her life for the worse because she may find out that he's dead. And but she still constantly goes ahead anyway. And her second quote also says about this, about what she chooses to do this as well. "We live not to forget our past, but to learn from it." So excuse me. She yeah, so she's learned from the past of, yeah, she's had this pain for trying to find Sir Fratley for 5 years, no, 3 years, 3 years since she left Bermesia. And she's had this pain, but she's learned from it as like, I need to keep going regardless. I'm terrified of finding the answer, but I need to keep going. That's what he would want me to do. He'd want me to keep going, stay strong, just do what I can. Um, and but yeah, and it definitely adds to her character of like, she's got this despair, but she still remains strong as best she can. And her third quote also says about this with Bermesia as well, and her determination to keep on going despite the pain. "I failed Bermesia, but I won't fail Clara," which is where the Bermesians fled to, no matter what. So she knows she failed her country, the country she was sworn to protect as like one of the best dragoon knights of Bermesia, but one of the best dragon knights of Bermesia. She failed, but she's still determined to go. "Nope, I'm not gonna fail, no matter what. I'm gonna keep going, gonna keep fighting." But yeah, what do you think, T-Short, about all of this? Like the despair that Freya goes through and how it defines her and makes her like helps her grow as a character. Like, what do you think?
Um, honestly, like I can't really think of anything like you hit a lot of the point, and just again that was thinking just I think like just honestly the whole triple or like the whole thing with like despair and just oh, her home country is in ruins. It's like it's gonna take a long time to rebuild all this, and just the love of her life, Sir Fratley, like amnesia, doesn't even know, like he doesn't even know, like, or even remember anything of like the past, and just like kind of like what you said, and with her quote, just being forgotten is like worse than like being than death. I think that's just that is like in any kind of sense like is it's like a hard thing to like to swallow, because you want to leave your mark on the world, or you want to leave the mark on like your country or just anything, but just if you end up being forgotten, that's just something that's really hard. And I do wish like near it, like I know she kind of gains like a little bit of a friendship with Amaranth, but I do wish that her motivation like was kind of more built upon near like the latter half of the game, or like cooked a little bit longer in the oven. Like I'd say for what she is as a character, and what she goes through and becomes like a better character that like wants to use her pain to help other people. I feel like that is a good like a good
Mm.
oh, I'm blanking on the word here, but just good motivation for her character. Though
Mm.
me personally, I do wish it was a little bit more like a little bit more built, and even like even if like Sir Fratley even like made a couple appearances, like
Mm.
maybe just to cheer her on, even though he has no idea, it could still like cement like, oh, there are still some things that he remembers. It's just a matter of time before
Mm.
things are back to how they were, or that they're gonna be rebuilt even stronger again, like how she wants to rebuild Burmecia into a stronger like kingdom essentially.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's definitely a lot that could have been built up with her motivations and more additions with Sir Fratley. Yeah, there's definitely and yeah, having a bit of the fragments of memories come back to him here bit by bit, that definitely would have helped her story. But what about you,
Hmm.
Vian? How does all of this define Frey as a character for you?
I will admit that I do think Freya is kind of one of the weaker characters
Mm.
in Final Fantasy IX, just because, like how Tisha pointed out, like once you get to like the second half of the game, she kind of doesn't do a whole lot.
Mm.
Um, but I do like the fact that the time that we do get with her character, we do get a lot. Like we see Bermicia, we see Clara, we see, some of the customs of the people of Bermicia
Mm.
and of like her culture, so to speak. Like the whole um what's it called? The festival thing they're going on, like that little dance that they did, and the harp, and like the
Mm.
stone that like disappeared, and all these things. And so you really feel a huge loss when it all gets destroyed, and you can really feel for her, especially since that's the first time Kuja shows up
Mm.
too, and we actually see him. We know what we're going up against.
Yeah.
But also just the fact that Sir Fratley forgets her, and that was kind of her whole reason to go on this journey, and that journey was kind of what was giving her purpose. She didn't really have like a reason to live for a long time,
Mm.
and you really feel for her and trying to figure out what she's like, what defines her now. The thing, and you feel that with all the characters,
Mm.
but not only are her people gone, but she was looking for Sir Fratley, who she knew wasn't in Bermecia or in Clara. She finally does find him,
Mm.
and he doesn't remember her at all. And she spent what, like 3, 5 years
Yeah, roughly
looking for
that.
him? Like, that's a huge portion of her
Mm.
life because she's young. Like, she knows Sedan, and Sedan's
Yeah.
supposed to be what, like 16?
Yeah. Sedan's
Like 17? Like
16.
Sedan's young too. So they've known each other for a long time,
Mm.
and he's known since he's met her basically that she's been looking for Sir Fratley. So like it's for a whole portion of her life,
Mm.
and especially when it comes to something like love and partnership, especially when you do find your person, it's extremely, extremely devastating when it's gone. And you know, it's not like she can find anyone else.
Mm.
Every other rat person in the world's dead. like, like there's no more rat people. And
Mm.
it's like in her way, like she kind of can't get a happy ending that she wants because
Yeah.
everything's gone. Her home's gone, her country's gone, her
Mm.
people's gone. She's the last living person of her kind.
Yeah.
But at the end, she does,
Mm.
make new friends, new connections, and she is able to get back on her feet and keep fighting, and even helps Sidon snap out of it
Mm.
when he's going crazy. So I think it I wish there was more to her, but I think what we
Mm.
do get of her, I think is really well done. I just wish they showcased a little bit more because she kind of just gets that one part at the end of disc one and then
Mm.
nothing else really.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like she does get her moment and does make an impact on you, but then you get towards the end of the game and you're like, huh, Freya
Mm.
kind of hasn't done anything in a while.
Yeah. She kind of gets pushed aside. Um. But yeah, like yeah, that's Freya definitely. That definitely. Yeah, Freya definitely goes for a lot. Like as you said, she's still young. Like she's actually 21. Um. So she's 5 years older than Sedan, and yeah, she's still going for this at what is considered a young age. And
Hmm.
she's not the last Burmesian, though. Thankfully, there were survivors of Burmesia and Clara, so she at least has some people who can help rebuild Burmesia. But there's still that again, like you said, there's that feeling like there's she at least still feels alone, especially about Fratley, and it definitely adds to her pain as well and her despair. It is honestly quite horrible. And even her theme as well is she shares her theme with Bermesia. It is very sad. It's very somber. It's
Hmm.
very melancholy, and it really makes her. It really exemplifies the despair she goes through. Like it's like a lament. I think I'm saying that right. A lament to Freya, and
Hmm.
it is honestly it definitely helps to add to her overarching character of despair, but still trying to go strong.
Especially since Burmecia, as a country, as a town,
Mm.
it's constantly raining. Like
Mm.
it's actually called like the town that never stops raining or something.
Yeah,
Like that's all it is.
the realm of eternal rain. Yeah, like
Also,
it's
I want Burmesians slash rat people in Final Fantasy 14. Square
yes,
Enix, give me rat people,
yes,
please.
yes. Square Enix,
Give me rat
give
people.
us Burmesians. That would be amazing. I wonder what they keep calling
Also,
about people. Mm.
this isn't related to this, but I kind of have to go.
Oh yeah, no worries. No, no, no. Yeah, no, because obviously it's your birthday, and you got stuff to
Yeah,
do. But
I kind
thank
of gotta
you.
go.
No, no, but thank you for
So
joining what you can.
I can't talk about the rest of them, but I was glad to be on for as long as I could be today.
No, no, of course. But thank you for being here for what you could, Vian. I really appreciate it. And yeah, thank you so
Yeah, thank
much.
you.
And
Thank you for
I
having
hope
me,
you have
inviting
a
me.
great birthday as well. I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Happy birthday, Vian.
Thank
All
you.
right, take
Thank
care.
you everyone in chat that said happy birthday too.
Bye
Bye.
bye. Uh, but yes, but yeah, T. I guess it'd just be me and you now. But that doesn't make it any less great. But yeah, that was my recent friend Vian, guys. Please go and follow her. She is an amazing person. She's honestly great.
Mhm.
But yeah, the next person as well, T, is Kina. Now, for those in chat, Kina is androgynous, and their gender is not actually shown in the game. They're always referred to as she slash he, and this is just to help the fact that because you cannot tell by their appearance, you can't tell what they are, and this is just the theme they have with it. I personally
I think it's like this.
hey there, yeah, it's like that. Yes, Kina, the go. Also, Vian, go birthday. Go enjoy your birthday. But yeah, like because the game mechanics to treat because the game's mechanics treat Keen as male, I refer to him as a male. I just want to point that out just in case anyone else refers to Keena differently, and it's just completely fine. So just a heads up there. But yeah, Keena is another interesting character who he's be a very kind of simple character. Tries to enjoy life, doesn't really worry about stuff. And this is said by his word indulgence. I do what I want. You have problem, and and also his quote: "Why you care about small things? World very simple place. World only have two things: things you can eat, things you know can eat." And this says a lot to Kina as well. Like he doesn't worry about the smoke. He doesn't worry about the details. Doesn't worry about the complicated stuff. He just tries to enjoy life, see the pleasures in life. Like food, good people, seeing the world, finding the ways of gourmand and whatever that means. And yeah, and Kina again he's very again just simple. Like just enjoys life, and it's a nice breath of fresh air for all the characters going through their own dilemma. But even it's not even said much. But even Kina has his own dilemma where he doesn't know what the way of gourmand is. He's got no idea about the way of gourmand. All he can do is just enjoy life as much as he can with what he does know. And something that is another quote that he says that I think was really good and adds his character as well is good food not only delicious, good food made with heart. This very important when cooking for friends. So he's constantly always thinking, he constantly always knows friends are important. If you have your friends, you don't need to sweat the small stuff. You can enjoy life. You can enjoy each day. You can enjoy good food. But what do you think, T, about how this all defines Kina as a character, like, and adds to to his character?
Honestly, You hit it pretty much on the nail. Like
Mm,
I do really like that he has like kind of like I wouldn't say like a bad like naivety,
mm,
but like a good naivety in the way that like just don't sweat the small stuff. Like just live life, just kind of like in a in like a nice easy way.
mm,
Enjoy just like good food, for example, or good frogs.
mm-hmm.
Rather.
Yep. Yep.
um and just like enjoy what you can explore around like the world, like try new things, like it just don't worry about the little things. That doesn't it doesn't really matter in like the grand scheme of life. I mean, of course, try and figure out like who you are as a person, like who you are as a person, and how you can apply the things that you learn around the world into your own personal self. And I
Mm,
feel like Ina does a really good job of that. So,
mm. Yeah,
but
like, mm,
also,
yes.
sorry, I Kina is an enigma. I'm just gonna be
Mm,
completely honest. He
yeah.
is the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my entire life, and I love
Yeah.
him at the same
Yeah.
time.
And there's definitely a lot of comedy for Kina as well. Definitely a lot of comedy to him. And yeah, he is just someone who just wants to enjoy life. He wants to enjoy life and like even when Vivi's questioning himself, Kina says to V, like Vivi says, "Oh, am I even human?" Kino says to him, "What you talking about? I'm not human, but you definitely human." He he doesn't care that Vivi is a black mage, he's a puppet that was made. To him, Vivi is human. Vivi is Vivi, and he even says to someone character, I think, when Vivi's friend Puck, who's very rude, quite rude, and he's a bit of a brat. Keen even says
Hmm.
he very rude. Vivi much nicer. Again, just simple. Like he speaks. Kina speaks his mind. And there's even a scene where later where Kina meets the master of his master, and because of all Kina's travels, Kina is told that Kina has the most important thing of Gourmand is not to eat everything. Kina has attained a level that even not even his master attained. Imagination. He has the imagination to taste the food, to taste the food. He's got imagination to enjoy the food and to have enjoy the sensation that the food brings you and that life brings you, like as you go through the world. And it definitely speaks a lot to Kina. Like you said, they're an enigma, but they just want to enjoy life, and they learn how to through journeying through Sudan. They have the imagination to, and yeah, Kina's definitely a character that we can learn from. Just don't worry about the small stuff. Just enjoy life and have good times. Like just be Kina sometimes. But yeah, he's definitely an interesting character, and and as the blue mage of the game, he's definitely interesting to play as well. I just wish the forks didn't do random damage. But yeah, we next we'll move on to everyone's favorite 6-year-old, Aiko, a character who I have a love hate relationship with Aiko. I like her as a character. I like her energy, but she's very pushy. She's very abrupt, and her crush on Sudan is just kind of creepy. Like it's creepy. It
Yeah, I agree.
it goes from like schoolgirl crush to like kind of creepy level. But yeah, she also goes for her own dilemma because she's from a village of summoners called Medain Sari. That 10 years before the game starts, it got destroyed in a storm, and this was left with her with barely any summoners left apart from some few summoners, including her and her grandpa. And then a few years later, her grandpa dies, and she's left alone with the Mughals that live in Medain Sari. She's got no one to really connect with apart from the Mughals, and she's got no humans. She's got no one like her. And this is said a lot in her the word or that the word and quote that says that relates to her is solitude. I don't want to be alone anymore. And that's the thing with Aiko. She acts like this tough girl, like this tough little girl, this one who's full of energy, constantly going forward. I don't care. I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. But she's still just a kid, and inside she is crying because doesn't want to be alone. And she definitely has that dilemma when you first kind of like meet her of like you can tell that her being alone for so long has affected her because she's been alone since she was like 4 years old, like, and it's definitely affected her. But she still tries to keep going. She still tries to, keep the smile on, and she even kind of be's a bit of a hypocrite as well because she lies to herself about all this, about how she feels, about how she doesn't want to be alone. She lies to herself, trying to say, yeah, I'm not alone. It doesn't bother me. But her quote that she says to Vivi, and again speaks a bit to her character, is, "Listen to me. You should never lie to yourself." Because Vivi, trying to, I think he tries to say something like to himself, like he's unsure in that, but Aiko knows he's not. But Aiko herself doesn't listen to her own words. Because she knows that she wants to cry. She wants to break down and cry because she is alone. She is alone. She wants to just let it all out. But she tries to act like an adult, act like a big girl, even though she's not, and she's still just a kid. And it definitely speaks to her, like, her trauma of solitude and being alone and how it's affected her. But what do you think, T? How do you think this has all affected Aiko and the character that she's become because of it?
Honestly, I would give Aiko just kind of a little bit of the benefit of the doubt because she is 6 years
Mm.
old. Like, I mean, with children, they're like they kind of have like no idea of like the world, and just even though like her insane crush on Zidane
Mm.
is weird,
Yeah.
it makes sense, but it makes sense that she doesn't understand that, like, oh, she's being a little bit weird about it because she's only just been surrounded by Mughals like pretty much her entire life.
Mm.
And not to say that like Mughals don't have like humanistic like interactions and stuff like that, but it's
Yeah.
just like it's like the interpersonal connection between like human to human, like, oh,
Mm.
this person, or oh, this person did something that I didn't like, maybe I should stay away from doing
Mm.
behaviors like that. She does have just, again, the naivety of a child because, again, she's 6 years old,
Mm.
but she has like a sort of a complex nature to herself, and like a slight maturity because she's living on her own,
Mm.
and or, well, not really on her own, but with Mughals. But she's mature in the way that, like, she knows how life kind of works for herself, and she can still grow into just into a person, like, now that she's surrounded by like friends and like other people other than Mughals.
Mm.
It's I don't know. I do get, like, yes, she can be brash, she can
Mm.
be like bratty, but at the same time, though, you have to give her the doubt that she's just still a child.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the end of the day, and like her only like her best friend, so to speak, what was her name? Mog,
Mog.
I think
Yeah.
was her name. Like that Mog just ended up being an Eidolon
Mm.
at the end of things, and just like, in a sense, it's just kind of like a loss. It's just like she didn't. I don't think that she knew that Mog was an Eidolon, but until.
Mm. Until it happened. Yeah.
Mhm. So it's just kind of like, in a sense, losing a friend, in a
Mm.
sense, but at the same time, she gains a whole like new friends with like Zidane in the party, you
Mm.
know? So,
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, she ends up like not being alone, and like you said, she loses Mog, but she gains friends and that. And in a way, she also doesn't even lose Mog completely anyway, as well, because there's a an ability that you can get in the game that only Aiko can equip called Guardian Mog, and the description of this ability is Mog will sometimes come to assist Aiko. Um, so Mog is still there. Aiko discovers that, yeah, Mog has been there as a friend in that, but she's never truly been alone because Mog has always been there as as the Eidolon in disguise, like she's always been there to watch over Aiko, and even after Mog, turns into Medine and disappears, and the rib and leaves behind the ribbon, she's still watching over Aiko with that ability and being able to summon Medine and that. So yeah, like Aiko, and it's like you said, yeah, Aiko definitely like gets the benefit of the doubt because yes, she is a child, she's still learning about the ways. Excuse me, she has that energy kids have, and she definitely grows in the game as well. Like, in the ending scene, she gets adopted by Regent Sid and becomes a princess of whatever a daughter of a regent would be. I think it would be a princess or a lady, whichever. But yeah, she basically becomes nobility because she's been adopted by Sid, and so she ends up getting that family she lost so long ago. She's not alone anymore, and yeah, like she definitely has a great arc to where she goes from brassy kid who's alone to this girl who has found her family. She's found people. She's not alone anymore, and people she can depend on. And that it's great. It's honestly great. And looking in the chat, Bronx says Limblom will never be the same once Aiko reigns. This is true. This is true. This is very true. Long as they don't let Aiko cook. But yeah,
let the Mogs cook.
Yeah. But yeah, Aiko is definitely a character who there's a growing period. You really need to kind of grow. Let Aiko grow on you. But she is a great character, and she is a white mage like Dagger, and a summoner like Dagger as well. So yeah, she's definitely a character who she kind of grows on you. Ooh, sorry. But next we'll move on to a character who you mentioned earlier, T. Amaranth, who we don't see much in the game. He comes up a little later, and not much is said about him. But he has his own kind of thing he works for in the game, where he's very big about himself. Not big about himself, but he's very sure of himself. He's very he knows he's tough. He knows he's strong. He constantly yearns for a tough fight, for better fighters. But this is also a dilemma in that fact that he has no idea. He has no idea how other way to live, and this is also shown with his quote and word arrogance. The only dependable thing about the future is uncertainty. So he doesn't know what he is. He doesn't know what the future holds for him, or or if he can really understand what's going to happen. All he knows is to fight. He doesn't even have any memory of his parents or his family. The first memory he says to Zidane, the first memory I have is of the guy I was supposed to fight. And yeah, like Amaranth is very he's very very about fighting, but because of that arrogance he has, where he knows he's strong, he knows he's a tough warrior, he has that dilemma of he doesn't know how else to live life, and it really affects him as a character, I find. And some of his quotes as well show how astute, how sure of his abilities he is as well, and how his character that it shows his character that when we do find a bit of his character as well, we do see a bit of his character. Like, I'd rather die as a warrior than live as a beggar. So, that is just after Zidane beats him and Zidane chooses to spare his life. Amaranth is very proud. He doesn't want to live life as a failure. He wants to die as a warrior, die fighting, because that's all he knows. And again, it's shown in the fact he knows no other life. But alluding to that fight against Zidane as well, another quote is, "I'm beginning to understand why he won and I lost. I lost against his way of thinking." So Amaranth is very open to learning about new ways to live, learning about different ways to live, and new ways of thinking as well, to lose that arrogance. And one thing he says is, blind pursuit of power is a meaningless vice. So that's something else as well. He learns that strength isn't everything. Strength isn't everything. There's got to be something else to live for. And with all that said about him and all that's shown about him in the game, as small as it is, what are your thoughts on Amaranth T? Like, how does Amaranth, all this, define Amaranth as a character to you with what we've been shown?
Honestly, for me personally, I think that Amaranth could have been like, I feel like maybe if he should have like potentially been a party member earlier, because I know they didn't have much time. like to work on like his character. I mean, for what we have as his character, it's good, but I feel like me personally, I would have loved to have more like. Maybe like like you said, fighting is the only thing that he knows, and just but like maybe a little more of his backstory, like was he maybe a beggar at the like, and maybe like with like his memory, like with him saying, "Oh, my first memory is just like as a warrior, is fighting," or something like that, or maybe like in the past, just like he was kind of like a beggar, someone that lived on the streets, and
Yeah.
he chooses to block out those memories. And just like with the fighting, and just like fighting being his own thing, but until he like meets up with Zidane and joins the party for a bit, he is a bit stubborn at first, because he's like, oh, this is my way of thinking, like this is what's right for me at the time. But as the story progresses, he learns that, oh, maybe it's not so bad to, branch out a little bit, that there's more to life. I mean, he's still kind of like the like whatever type character, oh, let me do my thing type character, but like you said, he's still kind of willing to figure out how life is, and I do like that he gains this like just like gains this friendship, or like the slight friendship with Freya, and and that they just like get closer as like the story goes on, and just I just feel like that they could have done a little bit more with his character, but what we have is good. So
yeah, he's definitely a character that we've definitely shown that he can be a good character of what limited we've shown. And yeah, it's like you said as well about him. He's not afraid to change his way of thinking, learn new ways of winging. It's like when you recruit him, he doesn't have a victory animation. He doesn't have a victory stance. He doesn't have a victory pose. He just stands there in the normal combat pose. It's only until after Zidane goes back and saves his life, goes back for him, even though Zidane has no reason to. He could have just gone on without him. Amaranth had left the party. He had washed his hands of the party. Zidane still goes back to find Amaranth. So Amaranth has been attacked by a monster. He's been hit. He's caught in a trap, and he's just lying there, kind of weak. Zidane still goes back for him for no reason. Like he has no reason to. And so, of course, Amaranth questions this, and Zidane just basically just says, "Because I wanted to." Because it's like, that's a stupid question. Because you were in trouble. I wanted to. I wanted to see you were okay. And it's after this that Amaranth finally starts doing his victory pose. He's starting to accept his place in the party as he starts learning more and more of a new way of life. And again, that shows to his willingness to learn a new way of another way of life other than just fighting. He's the victory pose is like he's now slowly learning to enjoy life like Zidane does, and it definitely adds to his character. Like, he's a fighter, and but he's not afraid to find new ways of living. And I love what you said about how his backstory could have been, he could have been on the streets. He could have been an orphan who lost his parents in the war. And it could be anything like that. He could have been like a down his luck beggar or something like that, and humble beginnings and that, and it would have been a really great story. So if Final Fantasy IX it does get a remake, like has been rumored and teased so many times, I would love for them to see to expand on Amaranth. Let us see more of Amaranth's backstory, because I know a lot of people don't like Amaranth, and which is fair enough because we see so little of him. But yeah, I think if we just expand on his backstory, we could see a lot more, and people could see more facets of his personality. But I still like him as a character. I think he's a good character. Now there's two non-party member characters I do want to talk about as well, because I find they're also important to the story. The first one is General Beatrix, who starts off as an enemy. She starts off an enemy. You fight her 3 times in the game, and she kicks your ass each time. You never win against Beatrix. She's strong. She's capable of killing 100 knights on her own. She's only been defeated by one character, and that's Steiner. Steiner is the only character to be able to defeat her. But and she's sure of her strength, like Amaranth. She's sure of her strength, but she's not arrogant with it. But the Beatrix, like the main characters, Beatrix also goes through a dilemma in the game where, as she sees Bran succumbing to greed and destroying Clara, attacking Bermesia, and even attacking their fellow country, their friendly country, the allies of Limblum, you know, she starts questioning. She starts questioning the use of the Black Mages, the use of the Eidolons. She starts questioning Braun's choices. Like, Braun says that she's going to have Dagger executed for stealing the family jewel that had part of the crystal inside. And Beatrix disagrees with it. She doesn't think it's necessary. And this says a lot. And this says a lot to Beatrix's question, to her dilemma that she goes through the game. Now, Beatrix doesn't have a word to connect it to this dilemma or a quote. And this is what I wanted to ask you. Well, I was going to ask Vianne as well when she's here, but I'll ask you as well. I'll just ask you, T. But before I do that, I'll say what I think about it. So I've been thinking about a word that could be attributed to Beatrix and her dilemma, and a quote that could be attributed to it. And what I've settled on is loyalty. We're all just blindly following orders. My heart and my will mean nothing. And I personally think that's very good. That fits Beatrix because she questions her loyalty to Bran and to Garnet constantly throughout the game when she sees the lengths Bran will go through, the lines Bran will cross that she doesn't need to cross. That Bran used to be lovely and peaceful and a great queen to her people. You know, she wasn't a tyrant who just wanted war. She used to watch plays with Garnet and her adopted father. You know, like, she used to be sweet. And Beatrix questions this loyalty when she sees Bran go through this change, and she sees Dagger in trouble, and Dagger trying so hard to be a better queen and be the queen she needs to be and princess needs to be. And some quotes that I think help towards this loyalty thing as well, especially to the Bran one, is, "My heart is set. All this time I have been mistaken." So she finally realizes, you know, her loyalty's been misplaced. Bran changed from the ruler that Beatrix pledged her loyalty to. And adding to the whole thing of loyalty as well, and her sense of loyalty, she says, "My allegiance to you remains the same, if not stronger." So when she does discover who she should be loyal to, and finds out and chooses for herself, it's stronger. Her loyalty is stronger. She is resolute in that loyalty. And that's why I think loyalty is a perfect word to describe Beatrix. But what do you think, T? Knowing about Beatrix and her character, what word would you attribute to Beatrix? And yeah, how would you how would that word define Beatrix to you?
Oh, that's hard because, like, you honestly really, like, hit it on the head. Just I would agree. I feel like the word that describes her is also loyalty, and I feel like in a sense both she and Steiner kind of go through, like, the same character growth, but like in a different branching path.
Yeah.
Like Beatrix is quicker to question, like, is this the right thing to do? Like, when Bran is going through, like, just her tyrant, like, stage, and just, like, that she is just like, I'm not sure of how I feel about how I feel about this. We shouldn't be attacking Lindblom, and just
Yeah.
but she still follows orders to a degree, and but after Bronn passes away, and it just, the quote, just "My loyalty to you remains the same, but if not stronger." I feel like she finally discovers, like, that she's still loyal, but she's loyal to the cause that she thinks is just to her, like, just to her, and, like, how she can help like, grow with that, and help Dagger or Garnet just grow into a better queen. I feel like, yeah, loyalty is the word to describe Beatrix.
Nah, that is definitely fair then. Yeah, because Beatrix, yeah, because loyalty comes in all sorts of forms. Another way you could see loyalty as is loyalty also means making sure the person you follow stays true to themselves. And she does this. She tries to do this with Braun. Like when she finds out Braun was going, in fact, going to have Garnet executed, she turns her blade on Braun. She turns her blade on Braun and basically says, is basically saying, "You're not the queen. You're not the queen I pledge my loyalty to. You've changed."
Oh,
Like,
right. I forgot about that scene.
yeah, well, yeah. When you after you fight her for the third time, the queen that she pledged her loyalty to has changed, and so she is resolute in the fact that she will fight Bran and make her come to her senses herself if she must. Sadly, she doesn't, but she's still there. Like, the loyalty of I will try. I want to make my queen see that she is wrong. She has changed from who she is. And then with Dagger as well, when Garnet becomes queen, she helps Garnet. She helps Garnet to help rule. Like, she tries to help her rule before Alexandria gets destroyed. And even when after Alexandria destroyed, Beatrix leads the restoration effort. She's basically in charge of restoration effort, and she just says to Sedan, "Please don't bring Dagger back to the back. No, please tell Dagger not to worry about Alexandria. We just want her. We would just basically want. She basically says we just want her to be okay. We want her to not worry about our people because our people will be strong without her." So there's that loyalty to Dagger, where she wants Dagger to keep on going and being true to herself. She knows Dagger cares, but she knows Dagger wants to do what's right and keep going. So she says to Dagger, "Don't worry about your people. We will await our queen's return when you're ready, and we will have Alexandria stronger than ever for you." And it definitely says a lot to Beatrix. And then even in the end of the game as well, like she has no idea what to expect. She's got no idea what to expect with the battle that happens outside Memoria. She knows that Steiner and Sedan will have to go into Memoria, have to go into the final dungeon to stop Kuja. She doesn't know if they'll come back. She doesn't know if they'll come back, if she'll see them again. But she still goes forth. She still goes forth and joins in the battle to help them break through to Memoria. And she even helps. She even ends up earning the loyalty of the Knights of Pluto as well. They follow her onto the Red Rose, and because they were at odds with Beatrix's soldiers, because Knights of Pluto kept getting showed up, but Beatrix earned their loyalty, and they follow her orders. Like, she even says to them, "Take heart, men. Your captain is about to enter Valhalla." So she says to them, "We are doing this for your captain. We are fighting for those we care about." And she inspires the loyalty in the Knights of Pluto for their captain, and it definitely says a lot to Beatrix. And another facet of loyalty as well is knowing when to step aside, knowing when to take a step back and let the person you're loyal to carve their own path. Like at the end of the game, Beatrix sets aside her sword, save the queen. She goes into Garnet's old room, or I suppose Garnet still has the room, Garnet's room. She places the sword on the table, and she tries to leave the castle. She tries to walk away from her service of Alexandria because she feels Garnet doesn't need her. She feels that Garnet can carve out her own path, and that's another facet of loyalty I have found. That she has the loyalty to know, I'm not needed anymore. I've done my duty. My loyalty is paid off. They can go on without me. Of course, Steiner stops her from going, and she stays to serve him. But she still has that sense of loyalty where she knows when she knows when it's time for her to step back, and that definitely says a lot about Beatrix. So I think we're in agreement that loyalty definitely fits Beatrix very, very well. Like she's definitely a character who inspires loyalty and is a very loyal character. And the last character I want to speak about who doesn't have a quote or a word is Kuja, the big bad himself. Don's older brother and big bad himself, and possibly my favorite Final Fantasy villain. Now, Kuja is a very theatrical dude. He's manipulative, he's cruel, he's cunning. He talks and acts like the whole world is a stage play and he's writing the script. Excuse me, even as going as far as to use stage metaphors and theater metaphors. But he's also he's one of those characters where he's he's very into himself. He's very, he thinks highly of himself. He's got power. He knows it, and he has the arrogance of that power. And with the word and quote that I feel fit him the most, the word would be narcissism, and the quote would be, "Why should the world exist without me? That wouldn't be fair. If I die, we all die." Because Kuja is a guy who he's never faced his death. He's never faced the prospect of death. To him, the prospect of death isn't a thing. It doesn't exist. But it's when Kuja finds out the truth of it's when Kuja finds out that his life has a limit, that he is mortal, that his life that he is going to die pretty soon. He starts to unwind, and basically all of his feelings that he's held back, all of his arrogance, like I said, why should the world exist without me? This all comes straight to the forefront, and he's resolved to just not just cause chaos, but to just destroy everything. And when he finds out about this, he even destroys his home planet of Terra. He flies up into the air and uses one attack to decimate the world of Terra in his rage and despair, finding out that he is going to die, and he's not prepared to face it. He's not prepared to face his death. It's something that just isn't conceivable to him. And some quotes that I think also attribute to his character and his narcissism, and his general nihilism as well. I think I'm saying that right. One of his, spare me the lecture. Lives come and go all the time. What's the big deal? So he has a lot of disregard for life. Again, because also attributes to the fact that he has no concept of his death. He doesn't even acknowledge the fact that he may die one day. To him, lives just are nothing. They're just nothing. They come, they go, that's it. He doesn't entertain the notion that he could die. And then one way to his arrogance that I find as well is the weak lose their freedom to the strong. Such is the way of the strong. And this is the providence of nature that only the strong survive. So he's very hell-bent on being the one that survives, Once he does finally realize he's going to die, he is determined to be the person to stay alive, to take the world with it and to try and find a way to survive. But what do you think, T? Like, with all you know about Kuja and his theatrics and his character and that, how would you describe Kuja? Like, what word would you use with Kuja, and how would you say it defines him?
I would say I would agree with you that narcissism is like a really great word to like describe his character, but also at the same time, I feel like arrogance is another big one that could describe. And I did look up some quotes.
Oh yeah, sure.
That kind of attributes to both arrogance and narcissism.
Oh yeah, go for it.
And there are two that I found that are that honestly speak to it. This first one being poor Garland, bitten by his own dog. This is no accident. Fate has chosen me to become the new ruler of Terra. Time for me to put on the finishing touches. Like he's displaying his arrogance at like, oh yeah, I was the one who killed Garland. He is no more. It's time for me to take over and put a twist on things in his own image. But he ends up destroying just Terra.
Yeah.
And the second quote that I found is, should I kill you quickly to show my appreciation for all you've done, or should I kill you slowly and painfully to show you my love? And that is another quote that attributes just kind of like he's arrogant of his own power. Like he becomes extremely powerful when he unlocks the power of trance. And in a sense, like that arrogance is kind of like justified in a sense. Like, yes, he destroyed his own home planet just to show that like he is powerful, and just kind of like when he knows that Zidane was like his replacement, he just snaps, and it just kind of. I feel like he drops kind of the whole theater act, but in a way becomes just arrogant of himself. Like he is so full of his power. Like I can destroy the world without a second thought. And just kind of that growth from just like with the theatrics, like, oh yes, this world is my own plaything. I can do whatever I want with it. To the realization of what Garland says to him, like, yeah, Zidane your replacement. You're gonna die as soon as you reach the pinnacle of your power. And just the fact that he snaps about it, just his whole way of thinking, just in that narcissistic way, just flips to arrogance, and just that he's no longer treating it as like a game or as like his plaything, but more so like, if I can't live, neither can you. Which again, like ties back to the narcissism thing, but also arrogance of his own power. And I feel like he's a complex character, because after that revelation that Garland throws on him, he throws out everything that he has been built up to. That, oh yeah, I can destroy destroy Gaia just whenever I want. But I'm gonna treat it as just my own plaything for now. And it's after, just like I said, after Garland reveals that he will die, it's just kind of when, it's when just he does a complete 180, and his whole sense of self, like kind of his personality too, just like he's kind of a cunning, like a theatrical guy, but just kind of that whole thing is thrown out the window. And that is also a sense of character development, but in like a negative connotation. He turns for the worse, but after he's defeated, and God, I'm forgetting
Necron?
Necron, Grand Cross, dude. I've completely forgotten.
You're fine.
Yeah. After he's defeated, he's just kind of he drops both personas of just like theatrical and just like hell-bent domination or destruction of the world, and it's just kind of like, leave me, I have no purpose here. Which is also a sense of just like development, but he's just an empty shell now. He knows he's going to die, but he wants Zidane to live on, in a sense.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely a lot of growth with Kuja, like, negative connotation, like you said. Like, he basically just snaps. Like, he basically, like Kefka from 6, where he accepts that he's going to die. But unlike Kefka, who just accepted it and let himself just die, Kuja's just like, no, I'm not going to die. If I'm going to die, I'm going to take you bastards with me. No one, you can't live without me. I'm the star of this play. And he goes like, it's like he goes less from narcissism to arrogance after he snaps, more to nihilism. Like he wants to just destroy everything. He just wants to take everything with him. He doesn't care. It's all dirt to him. It's all dust and dirt and just wasteland to him. It's all fodder to him. And it definitely shows his character a lot. Like, he when he's faced with that mortality, he runs from it. He snaps, and he's basically just like, yeah, I'm taking you with me. I'm not letting this world exist without me. I'm taking you with me. Like, enough of the theatrics. This is the final curtain call. We're all going. And it's kind of funny as well, because Necron as well is he actually came into being as the boss of Final Fantasy 9. It's not actually said much. Only Necron really says it, implies it. But he's actually born from Kuja's despair of dying. When Kuja has that despair that he refuses to acknowledge, but just says, I'm going to destroy everything. Necron is born from that despair because, Kuja doesn't want to die. And that is why Necron is also the embodiment of humans' despair of dying. And again, like, it comes forth. Necron comes forth because Kuja has he's facing his death, and he is despairing. He doesn't want to die. At first he didn't care, but now he doesn't want to die. He is actually scared to die once it hits him. And it's like you said, that scene as well, where he tells Zidane to leave him. And that the only reason Zidane and his friends were able to escape from Memoria and the Aether tree like bursting out and attacking everything was because Kuja was able to use the last of his power to help them escape, to help them get to safety. So in that last moment, when he's close to death, he is about to die. He somehow he gets his little redemption. He helps out. He helps out, like he helps them escape. He does that little good. He's not trying to kill them. He's not trying to bring them to their deaths as well. He helps them escape because he wants them to live, because they have shown I feel like they've shown him that dying isn't a bad. It shouldn't be something you should be scared of. It's gonna happen, and I feel them beating Kuja in battle has helped him made him realize maybe I should just accept it. I mean, my time has come. I shouldn't go with regrets. And him helping Zidane and his friends escape, I feel like that's him letting go of his regrets, like his fear of dying, and he's just going like, I'm at peace now. I've done something good at least. I can go. I kind of relate it to Metal Gear Solid. I know I talk about games a lot, but that's how I see it. Like the Psycho Mantis fight. For those who know, when you beat Psycho Mantis, he helps you go on to the next path. He unlocks the next path for you, and he basically does something which I find Kuja does as well. Like Kuja probably has the same feeling where he helps Zidane and his friends escape. Psycho Mantis says, "This is the first time I've used my powers to help someone. It feels kind of nice." And I feel Kuja has that feeling as well. Like, he helps Zidane and his friends escape. And when Zidane says to Zidane, asks Zidane, "Did your friends get out okay?" And Zidane says yes. Kuja actually says, "That's good." He actually says, he doesn't act like he doesn't care. He says, "That's good." He is relieved that Zidane and his friends have gotten out okay. And it's very Psycho Mantis like that, where, at the end of it, when he's dying at the end of it, he's realized, this isn't so bad. At least I was able to help someone and do something with my death. And I feel that definitely helps to Kuja's character as well, where after all that time, he was able to drop the narcissism, drop the arrogance, drop the nihilism, and he was able to just accept his death and go on. The stage play is over, the show is over. His scene is done. His story is done, and it honestly actually makes me. I won't lie. I actually did cry for Kuja dying, like, because Kuja was a very in-depth villain. Like, he's a villain with lots of facets. Like, he's got layers and layers and layers of enigmas, and seeing him lose that narcissism and that arrogance at the end, it definitely hit me hard. It definitely made me feel for him. And what about you? How did that make you feel? Like, when he let go of all his narcissism at the end and that?
Honestly, I think, yeah, it really was like a strong scene. Just and in a sense, like, even through like all the arrogance and just narcissism, nihilism, like in a sense, Zidane still kind of rubbed off on him to a degree, like, and he just, yes, they were enemies, but they still came from like the same world. They still were like created, and they were still like, and I feel like at the end, it's just Kuja finally accepted, like, okay, maybe I should try like a little bit of mercy for once, just kind of what he what Zidane showed me.
Yeah, like, definitely, like, the whole, like, paying it back, Zidane is, because Zidane didn't go find him to kill him. Zidane went to find Kuja at the end to try. He actually tried to say to Kuja, basically say to Kuja that he was going to try and help him out. He was going to try and save him, but Kuja knew he was going to die anyway. But the simple fact that Zidane didn't go back he didn't go and find Kuja to finish him off, but to help him, it definitely affected Kuja. Like, he's like, okay, I've been shown mercy, and it's not too bad, and it is, yeah, it's definitely added to his character as well. And looking in Twitch chat as well, Bronx brings up a good point as well. You could also view Kuja's acceptance and help them escape as an aspect of his the strong survive. He lost, they won, they are therefore superior, and his acceptance isn't that his worldview was wrong, but just that he wasn't the superior one. Exactly, because Garland even says that Zidane is actually stronger than Kuja, even though it's not apparent at the start when we first find this out. And then, yeah, and then when Zidane and his friends beat Kuja, Kuja does realize, okay, I am not as strong as I was. My younger brother is stronger than me. He was made to be stronger than me. And so I like to see it as Kuja now wants his younger brother, wants Zidane to live with that strength, to carry on being strong and stay strong and be what he couldn't be, do what Kuja couldn't be, do the good that Kuja couldn't do. And I like to think at the end, Kuja definitely had a big wake up call there right before he passes away, and he's definitely a character that has again, a lot of depth to him, and there's many ways to look at his what Kuja does and how he acts in the game. It's what makes him my favorite villain in the series, to be honest. Just that big, massive complexity to him. It's definitely amazing. It's definitely amazing. One last question as well, then, T, as well. If you had to pick anyone in this game as well, who would you say is your favorite character as well?
Definitely Vivi.
Fair enough.
Definitely Vivi.
Seems like a stupid question. Yeah, Vivi is very popular. Vivi is an amazing character. But yeah, he is honestly great. We do love our Vivi. But yeah, I think we've covered all of it. Tell you what, one last question actually. Apart from the characters we mentioned, what character in the game would you feel deserves a quote and a word like this to describe them, to define them? What characters would you say need more depth to go into them, like the main characters in Kuja have?
Honestly, I would probably say Baku.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah.
I can't really think of a word or a quote to describe him, but I feel like maybe if he had more in depth because throughout he is still willing to help Zidane, even though it's just at the beginning when Zidane goes out into the evil forest to go and rescue Garnet. He's like, oh, you're never gonna be a part of the crew ever again, it's stuff like that. But still throughout the story, Baku is still willing to help out in ways that he and the crew can help out.
Yeah. I would
still shows that he has that soft spot.
Yeah, I would definitely love to see them again. If there is going to be a remake, I definitely would love to see him expand on Baku, because he's definitely got a big heart, despite the fact he's leader of a band of thieves. He acts tough. He acts like he's strict with his men. You leave the group, don't come back, that kind of thing. But he definitely has a big heart. And it also shows when you have to fight him as Zidane, so Zidane can leave the Tantalus. And one line Zidane says, always shows us as well, is he pulled all of his punches except the last one, which is a punch that he does in a cutscene to Zidane. And it definitely shows that while Baku was willing to make Zidane earn his right to leave the band, he definitely didn't want to hurt Zidane. He at least wanted Zidane. He knew this was what Zidane chosen to do, so he wanted to support him, but he couldn't just do it obviously. He couldn't just do it obvious. And it definitely speaks to Baku and then even with Steiner as well. Steiner constantly still treats them as thieves, brigands, constantly as criminals. But when he's looking for Garnet, where she goes to Alexandria when she's lost her voice, Baku goes up to him, and when Steiner actually tells him, he says, "Can I trust you?" So Baku goes, "Sure." He tells Steiner tells him that he's looking for Garnet. Straight away, Baku's like, "Go back to the castle. You'll get lost. Me and my boys will look for the princess." He has no reason to, no obligation to, but he does it just because he's a good man, because he's a good guy, and yeah, he's just a good guy, despite the fact he's a band of thieves. And they're not even trying to be but trying to be stealing either. They at this point they're just trying to rebuild their home that was damaged when Alexandria attacked. So there's definitely a lot of heart to Baku, and I think I would love to see more in the remake and go in more depth about him. But yeah, I definitely would love to see more about him. But I think, yeah, apart from that, yeah, I think we've covered everything. It sucks that Vianne wasn't here for the whole thing, but I'm at least grateful she was here for half of it, and I hope she has a great birthday if she still can hear this. Thank you as well, T, for joining and for all your input with this as well. It was very much appreciated, and I think we've definitely gone a lot of in depth. Got into a lot of depth with the characters and how they are as people. So thank you for joining me for this.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Always welcome. And thank you everyone in the chat as well and my viewers for joining as well. So thank you so much for this. Now, next month, guys, on February the 4th, because February the 4th is the month February is the month that Final Fantasy VI released in Europe on the PAL version. And because it's the month of love, I've decided to, not just Final Fantasy VI as well, but I've decided that I'm going to talk about the bonds of love in the Final Fantasy series. I'm going to talk about the romance in the series, how they've affected the story, and how love itself has affected the games within the series, how it's become an important part of the franchise. So we're going to be talking about pairings like Tidus and Yuna, Zidane and Dagger, Cecil and Rosa. So we're going to go through some known couples, and we're going to talk about them and just see if we can understand how love has affected the series. So I hope all of you will look forward to that on the 4th of February. But yeah, guys, honestly, thank you for watching. I hope all of you have learned a lot by watching this podcast, and hopefully you've got a more in-depth view of the characters and just the reason why me and T-Shaw and Vianne all love Final Fantasy 9. Maybe some of you were inclined to try the game yourself now, which I say, please go and do it.
Yes.
But yes, and this will be, for those who haven't seen this will be up on YouTube shortly, soon as well. But honestly, just thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for gathering at the Eidolon Wall to hear us talk about Final Fantasy 9 and the characters, and just thank you for just watching. And of course, thank you to our guest party members for joining and for being here. And yeah, just to give their insight as well, give their wisdom and their insight to it as well. But yeah, so honestly, guys, just thank you so much. Shameless plug here as well, but feel free. Again, episode 1 is also on my YouTube channel. Feel free to go and look at it if you want to see episode 1. And speaking of Final Fantasy 9, my world first win that no one else has done, solo randomized Zidane win against the super boss Ozma, is also up on YouTube. So please go and check that out if you haven't already. And yeah, I just hope that you guys will enjoy it. And of course, guys, all I can say is, may you ever walk in the light of the crystals. Take care, everyone, and goodbye for now.